Next on Worcester News tonight, a day many will never forget. It's been almost 2 decades since 6 Worcester firefighters were killed in a fire. Plus, the city raises a flag in honor of World AIDS Day. Advocates say Worcester is making progress. But first, we begin with breaking news out of Paxton. A 23-year-old man is found dead in his home, and his older brother is facing charges. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. The Worcester County District Attorney's Office says innocent Asia was found dead in his home after Paxton police responded to a 911 call. An autopsy will determine his cause of death. His brother, 24-year-old Alexander Asia, is being held without bail after being arraigned on 2 counts of assault and battery Monday. The mother of the 2 men is also being treated for injuries. The DA's office says she showed up hurt at a neighbor's home. The 24-year-old is due back in court December 10th for a dangerousness hearing. Taking a look at the weather now, we finally saw sunshine and warmer temperatures today, but how long will it last? Let's get a quick look at our forecast with meteorologist Tim Kelly.
Something different today. We cracked 50 degrees for the first time since November 17th. And it didn't snow or rain. Well, there were a couple of raindrops and snowflakes, weren't there? The snowflakes were up in the sky, raindrops down near the ground. We're between fronts right now, one front offshore, big thunderstorms, Florida. We're going to have a series of storms developing on that front well to our south. Snow in Maine this evening, but it's a push of colder air that's going to be noticeable. 51 today. We're not going to see that again for a while. Temperatures this evening are falling through the 40s, and the wind is now gusting from the northwest. There are patches of clouds coming through. I think it's going to dry out fast enough, not too much in the way of black ice. When we get up in the morning, temperatures are in the 20s and lower 30s. The wind chill value will stay sub-freezing, but a good amount of sunshine. At the airport, we only make 30 degrees. The wind is going to be gusting 25 to 30 miles per hour. So winter jackets and hats and gloves are back on, but we may go a whole 10-day forecast without any big storms. More on that coming up in a few minutes.
It's a day many in the city will never forget. 19 years ago, 6 Worcester firefighters died fighting the cold storage warehouse fire. Some still on the department say they'll never forget where they were, and others are holding on to memorabilia sent in from all over the world to pay respects. Our Chandler Walsh joins us now with more. Chandler?
Olivia, Worcester's fire chief says the cold storage fire was one of the biggest events in fire service. He says it taught the department a tremendous and difficult lesson, and they're now much safer because of it. And even though it was 19 years ago, many say the day is still fresh in their minds. It's been 19 years since 6 Worcester firefighters were killed in the cold storage fire. But inside this room, it's like no time has passed. Retired Fire Lieutenant Don Courtney has kept tens of thousands of mementos left by people from Worcester and all over the country, from cards to dress caps.
People started leaving things as the fire was burning. All of a sudden, things would appear on the fence at Franklin Street, and that stuff would be taken off the fence and put aside so it could be preserved.
The space isn't open to the public, but on December 3rd, Courtney takes firefighters here to have a look. It's retired Lieutenant Steve Provost's first time seeing everything since he was responding to the fire.
Brought back a lot of the memories of what people did for us after the fire. It was quite heartwarming.
Worcester Fire Chief Michael Lavoie was also working December 3rd, 1999. He was on scene about an hour after the first call came in.
I haven't even told my wife about things I saw 19 years ago, and I don't think I'll ever be able to tell anyone.
We thought we heard the Mayday, and I never heard anything like that. It kind of caught me by surprise.
Chief Lavoie says the cold storage fire sparked immediate change in the industry, from safety techniques to technology, and those changes have saved countless firefighters' lives.
Everyone having radios, where people are, crews sticking together. More emphasis was put on safety and survival.
Lavoie says the department is working to get thermal imagers on every truck in the city to see through smoke, and several companies are creating technology to locate firefighters in buildings.
What floor are they on, whereabouts in the building, because GPS doesn't work that way, but they are working on those systems, and they're getting closer.
Lavoie says it's important to remember the Worcester Six and what they did for the community. As for Courtney, he's hoping the mementos will one day be on display in a Worcester Firefighters Museum. Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A single car crash in Sterling kills one man early Monday morning. A portion of Route 110 was closed for a period of the day as police investigated the crash. The Sterling Police Department says the car struck a guardrail, rolled over, and ejected the operator. It's unclear how long the vehicle had been off the road since it was not easily visible from the roadway. The crash is being investigated by Mass State Police Reconstruction Team and the Sterling Police Department. The victim has not been identified. A 23-year-old man is charged with leaving the scene of a fatal crash. A Norwell man's body was discovered on the Mass Pike in Auburn back in August. The man charged with leaving him there, Samuel Linehan, is scheduled to be arraigned later this month. Court records say the victim, Johanna Songdahl, was high on an LSD-type substance before jumping from a moving car. Tonight, President George H.W. Bush is being remembered in Worcester and across the country. The 41st president passed away this weekend at his home in Houston. Our Rosalind Flaherty spoke with a former Worcester councilor who worked closely with Bush. She joins us now with more on their story. Rosalind?
Olivia, the former city councilor worked on his campaign and later in his administration and is remembering him as a gracious president. When David Forsberg first heard of the passing of former President George H.W. Bush, he was sad but also thankful to have known him.
Just what a privilege it was to have worked for him and served with him.
The 41st president died Friday night at the age of 94. Forsberg was a Worcester City Councilor when he signed on to his presidential campaign with 6 others from Massachusetts in 1978.
It was great to be in that early because there was no Secret Service. We got to spend a lot of time with him. When he came to Worcester, Paul Salucci and I picked him up at the Worcester airport in Paul's car.
Bush didn't win the Republican nomination in 1980, but he and Forsberg became close. He served full-time on Bush's next presidential campaign and then in his administration.
He could not have been more gracious, more thoughtful. During the campaign, my father died. I still have this wonderful note from he and Barbara that he sent from the campaign trail, with condolences.
Forsberg says some people don't realize some of the great things he accomplished as president.
He was the driving force between the People with Disabilities Act, and he never gets any credit for domestic policy. But I think his finest achievement was handling the mechanics of really ending the Cold War and how to wind that down with everyone keeping their dignity.
Forsberg says the president was a fighter, loved life, and lived it with dignity. And now he will be laid to rest next to his wife, Barbara.
President Bush was very big on dignity. He always said that if it goes badly, and he said this quote to his granddaughter in an interview, and it really stuck with me. He said, if it goes badly, it's me. If it goes well, it's us. And that really was the way he operated.
Now he will be laid to rest later this week at the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library in Texas. Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
And the 41st president made the trip aboard Air Force One today to our nation's capital, where he is being honored inside the rotunda and where he will lie in state ahead of a funeral later this week at the National Cathedral. Jay Gray has more.
Today, George H.W. Bush makes one last trip to Washington. Air Force One, renamed Special Mission 41 for the trip in honor of the 41st president. His life, one of dedication to his country, nearly 70 years of service. A fighter pilot in World War II, a congressman, ambassador to the United Nations, director of the CIA, vice president and president, and after his time in the White House, a force for charity.
It's very sad. He was a great man. We loved him.
Love spilling out across the country now. Tributes from his adopted hometown of Houston through the coastline in his beloved Kennebunkport. This afternoon, dignitaries, family, and friends will gather for a brief memorial in the Capitol Rotunda, where he will lie in state. Thousands expected to pay their respects over the next couple of days, ahead of a state funeral Wednesday at the National Cathedral.
People, if they analyze not only his accomplishments, but his character, they'll say, job well done, George H.W. Bush.
Job well done. After 3 days of public memorials and tributes, the family will hold a private funeral in Houston, and the president will be buried next to his wife at his presidential library on the campus of Texas A&M.
A multi-year contract for the Worcester Police Department is agreed on by the city and police officers union. It includes framework for a body camera pilot program. It's been in the works for years. The city says the pilot program will begin after necessary training and finalization of a body-worn camera policy. The contract covers fiscal years 2018 through 2020. An international day to raise awareness about the AIDS pandemic is honored in Worcester Monday with the raising of a World AIDS Day flag. And as our Brittany Schaefer explains, it will be up all week at City Hall.
The flag is raised at City Hall to honor World AIDS Day. AIDS Project Worcester says the highly visible flag will help raise awareness.
We feel like it's important to keep the message going, as our theme this year is increasing impact through awareness, opportunities, and partnerships.
According to the state, in the past 10 years, the number of AIDS diagnoses in Worcester County have been cut in half. City Councilor Sarai Rivera says Worcester has made big strides in decreasing HIV and AIDS numbers and offering more support for those affected.
I remember working in the 80s when we saw such a huge rise in the HIV and AIDS epidemic, and how many people that we knew and loved we had to say goodbye to unnecessarily. And I think that we've definitely come a long way, and it's really in gratitude to organizations like AIDS Project Worcester.
Worcester is a progressing city, a city that's moving forward.
The nonprofit organization offers client services, prevention, screenings, and medical services. Community Relations Manager Lamar Brown says the stigma surrounding the disease is still present.
Stigma all starts with ignorance, in my opinion, and I feel like days like this and moments like this really helps to carve that, ignorance out of the fabric of our society. And you take days like this to inform the public, hey, HIV is just another disease that we can tackle and we can actually make better.
The World Health Organization says the sexually transmitted disease has killed more than 35 million people. Brown says while it's a severe disease, progress can be made every day.
It's a serious and a lifelong disease, but it's manageable, and we don't profess being scared about it. We want you to know that there is still support out there and you can still live a happy, healthy life.
Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.